Hi everyone, my name is Andrew Langrich. I'm here today with Axon to bring you a mobility class. So today, all we're going to need is, if you're close to a couch or something like that, we'll use that. And if you have a therapy ball, we'll also use that. I will be showing a small variation if you don't have a ball to just use a foam roller if you have that instead. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our therapy ball and we're going to come down onto our stomachs here. You're going to place the ball right below the bone on your hip and lie down on it, applying some pressure to the hip flexor muscles there. So what you want to do is you want to stay here, move it up and down, side to side, and find exactly where you feel those tender and tight spots. If you feel some pretty good spots here, what I want you to do is then bend your knee and bring your heel up to your butt and then straighten it back out. You should feel this intensify as you go. If it's too much and you just want to hang tight in this position, that's perfectly fine. We're going to spend a couple of minutes here on each side. So make sure that you're spending some time, and if the ball, if you feel it loosen up and it's not as tender, go ahead and move and find a new spot there. So if you're someone who sits a lot, you'll get a lot of tightness in your hip flexors. If you're someone who's rides your bike a lot or runs, you also use your hip flexors a lot. So you want to just take some time to take care of them, get them loosened up on your off days or before or after you exercise. All right, let's go ahead and switch sides. Now when you're doing this, everybody's going to be a little different. So if you're someone who knows that you have some hip pain on one side as opposed to the other, then it's okay to spend a little extra time on those muscles on that side. So same thing here, finding those tender spots through the hip flexors. And then once you get them, some tender spots there, bend your heel up, bending your knee, and back down. And you can use the ball or the foam roller as a kind of a test to see if it's tender and tight. Then it's obviously something that you need to spend a little bit of time working on. Now while you're working on that, if you're someone who doesn't have a ball, it's not going to be quite as intense, but you can use a foam roller, and you're just going to come up on one leg at a time, up high in front of the hip here. Same kind of premise as far as bending the knee, bringing the heel up to the butt, and come back down. So if you're someone who's really irritated, it might be a little more tolerable to use the foam roller. But if you just have the foam roller, you can still get it done with this as well. And just kind of play with the variations to find out what works best for you. All right, we're going to stick with the therapy ball here. If you have just a hard chair, it could work on your couch, but you're probably going to need a harder surface. You're going to take the ball and you're going to sit it on your hamstring muscles, sitting up nice and tall on your chair. Keep nice, good posture. You're going to find those tender spots and then kick your knee straight and then come back down. Again, those are big muscles, so you can kind of move side to side or higher or lower to figure out where those areas are that are going to need a little bit of tenderness. You're going to need a little bit of love. So nice and slow, kicking straight, hold for a couple seconds, come back in. Once it starts to loosen up, you can find another spot, just making sure you maintain that good upright posture. And you can either do this for a certain amount of time, or if you feel like you've got all the spots after a minute or two, or 20 reps or 30 reps, then that can be good enough. You want to kind of listen to your body and how it's feeling. And when we switch sides, I'll show another variation of using the foam roller. So if you don't have a ball and you just have a foam roller, you're going to come on the floor, and what you'll do is you'll put one leg on top of the other here, rolling nice and slow. If you want to add some of that leg movement in, you can let your leg drop and then straighten it back out, and you'll feel a little bit more of a stretch there. Go ahead and switch to the other side here. You can do both legs at the same time, but a lot of times you won't get enough pressure to really make a difference. You won't feel any of those tender, tight spots, so you want to do one leg at a time. All right, so now that we've done a little bit of work with the foam rollers, we're going to move into stretching those same muscle groups. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the hip flexors. So you're going to be in this kneeling position. If you're next to a couch or a chair, you can just put your foot up on top here. You're going to make sure you squeeze your glute muscles. Keep your body nice and straight, so I don't want you bent forward here. I don't want you extending here. And you're just going to shift your weight forward until you feel a stretch on the front of the leg. Now, because the leg is up on this couch or the chair back here, you might feel it all the way down across the front of your knee. Your quad muscles come all the way up and attach into your hip and are part of your hip flexor group, so you might feel it go all the way down. Hold for about 30 seconds or so, and then we'll go ahead and bring your leg back, just taking some tension off of it. Leaning forward. Now, if you're someone who doesn't have as much flexibility, you can come away from the couch, keep your foot flat here on the ground, and then you're just going to lean forward. You can get the same thing, it just won't be quite as intense. So if you're someone who knows they have a little bit of flexibility issues on the front, then you might not be able to start out with your foot on the couch. That's something you can kind of work up to over time as you're working on this. All right, and then we'll go ahead and switch sides. I'll show where you can start. So start here, squeezing your glute, shifting your weight forward, feeling a pull across the front of your leg here. And if as you go you feel like the muscle loosens up and you want to try using the couch, that's perfectly fine. You might find that one side is tighter than the other, so you might be able to do a progression of the other one. All right, we'll stay in this kneeling position here, and then we're going to switch to the hamstring. So all you're going to do is with this front leg, you're going to kick your leg straight forward here, keeping your chest up. You're going to kind of hinge at the hips, not rounding your back, bringing your chest like you're bringing it to your thigh. My hamstrings are tight, so you can see my knees wanting to bend. You're going to fight to keep it as straight as possible. If you need to rest your hands here, that's fine. If you have good flexibility and can come all the way down, that's great too. And then give yourself a little break. So we're going to do 3 of these, so this will be the last one, and then we'll go ahead and switch sides. And again, I just have this little mat underneath my knee just for comfort. So if you're on carpet at home, you probably won't need one. Again here, same half kneeling position, foot out, leaning forward. As you go through the repetitions, make sure you're trying to push just a little bit further. The stretching should be a little uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be painful. So if you should feel like an uncomfortable pulling feeling right back through here, that's what we're going for. But it should be comfortable enough that you're able to stand it for 30 seconds. We've got one last thing we're going to do just to get the hips. So you're going to lie flat on your back here, knees bent up, 1 foot over the top, pull across, trying to keep your upper back attached to the floor. Your lower back and hip will pop up just a little bit, that's okay. And we'll hold here. You might feel a pull in your lower back or on the outside of your hip and even down into the front of your leg. All of those are okay. It just depends on where you have the most tightness. So we'll go ahead and switch sides. Again, making sure I'm not rolling over with it, keeping those shoulders square on the floor. We'll do one more on each side here. And then one last one. All right. Thanks for joining me with Axon for a lower body mobility class.